It's Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the Lamar Thomas Show, featuring the greatest receiver in the history of college football. Just ask them, Lamar Thomas.
I was born in Ocala, Florida. I moved to Gainesville to go to high school. Been recruited probably since the 9th grade, illegally, I might add, by the University of Florida. I still can remember Coach Solinger, Don Solinger, coming out to our practice one day. Here it is, this guy comes out in the University of Miami jacket, and I said, I can't believe that's Miami out here. And, you know, I wanted to go up and say, hey, I'm Lamar Thomas. And actually, I did walk up to him and I said, hey, Coach, I'm Lamar Thomas. And he said, I know. And that was the start of my relationships with the University of Miami.
Patton, another good block, and Torretta lays it out. Touchdown, Miami!
You come down here, you'll be on TV every weekend, dominating. I thought about it. I said, man, where do I sign? My mom, on Saturday mornings, I would wake up and she'd be holding my hand. I thought she was the weirdest lady in the world. But she was holding my hands and she would be rubbing them and saying, one day these hands are gonna make you a lot of money. She was smart.
So now, here he is, the great one, along with co-host Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, Lamar Thomas.
Good evening, Mr. Lamar Thomas. How are you, sir?
I'm loving life, man. I am loving life. I'm still on a high. Maybe a Michael Irvin. No, not a Michael Irvin high, but I'm still on a high. How about that? I'm geeked up, man. Wow. I'm sitting here at the scene of the comeback. That's what I call it, the comeback. The Ale House here in Weston. Man, we got to come to a party here. Oh man, I didn't even go to sleep till like 6:30 in the morning. The adrenaline is still there, man.
Well, you know, I can't tell you how many people out at Cal this past weekend, and while Michael Irvin was hogging some camera time out there, we were saying, man, all we need is Lamar here too, and we would be like in absolute former player heaven. But this was a big week, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute because Xavier Restrepo passed you, I believe, in the record books.
Yes.
With his big performance up there at Cal, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how that feels. But we got a big show tonight. We welcome everybody back for another week of the Lamar Thomas Show. Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Gino Torretta will be joining us later, and that's always a fun time. And he'll have so many perspectives on Cam Ward and the Hurricanes and what they're doing. And tonight's show is once again presented by Caneswear. We couldn't be in the store personally because they closed down early today to make sure that they were not in harm's way if the hurricane created some havoc in South Florida tonight. And those of you that are on the west coast of Florida watching tonight, stay safe. We hope we can entertain you while that storm is wreaking havoc outside your front doors. And stay inside, stay safe. And we wish you and all your friends and neighbors the very best, obviously. But yes, Caneswear is our sponsor all season long, and you can visit them at their store, 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or at caneswear.com, your ultimate headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. You can see the store behind me here. We'll give you a closer look later in the show. But if you want to show off show off your fandom and just celebrate this great season the Miami Hurricanes are having, do it by going to Caneswear and loading up. They have something for everybody, men, women, children, babies, pets, every size imaginable. Caneswear will hook you up in a big time way. All right, LT. So Xavier Restrepo catches the big 77-yard pass in the fourth quarter to ignite that winning touchdown drive and get Miami out of Dodge after another crazy game 2 weeks in a row now. But 6-0 is 6-0. But I believe he passed you on that play, if I'm not mistaken. And was that going through your mind at all as you watched it? Or were you just so caught up in the football game?
Man, hey, if he breaks every one of my records, if he passed the touchdowns, all that stuff, I don't care as long as we win it. I was not thinking about that. All I was worried about was, okay, we got the ball. And when I saw him on that 70-yard run or catch, man, I was like, there was no thought about records. I was just, man, we are going to win this game. I mean, kudos to X. He's what an outstanding player. He's a guy that I can really say has worked his way into being the player that he is. He takes a lot of pride in it. To get another quarterback to, everybody thought, oh, he was only getting passes because he was roommates with the quarterback. Okay, there is something to that. You got to be good friends with the quarterback, man. But to get Cam to come here and be one of his favorite targets, that's actually saying that you know how to work the system and you know how to work. And quarterbacks, they see that. They see that. They know who they can trust. And when the game's on the line, who they're going to throw the ball to. And how many times have we seen it this year? A big third down, big catch, big fourth down. He's made those plays. So kudos to him. Hell, if he breaks all of our records, I'm happy because that means we're probably winning. And I'll be okay with that.
Well, it's two quarterbacks he's bonded with. I mean, that's the most impressive part of all. And it is a statement about his work ethic and the respect that he garners out there on the practice field and within the football program. He now ranks 7th nationally. He's got 585 yards in the first half of this season, on pace for another 1,000 yards. He's got 32 catches. 5 of them have gone for touchdowns, but he's now 4th on the all-time list in career receiving yards with 2,302 and 163 catches, while also being tied for 9th in receiving touchdowns. And he is now only 20 catches, which he is going to make, and 246 receiving yards away from setting the school record in both of those categories. And obviously this is going to happen. LT, I mean, just amazing to me. You look at all the great receivers that have played in this program. I mean, from Michael Irvin to Andre Johnson to yourself, we can go on and on and on and on. So Hannah Moss, that Xavier Restrepo, who was in the program at the beginning in some pretty tough times, is now going to emerge on the other side when he leaves Miami as the most storied receiver in the history of the program, at least according to the numbers. It's amazing.
And I can tell you this, Gary, he deserves it. I mean, he's worked his butt off from day one. He's always asked questions about how can he get his game better. He was maybe a little ticked off last year about people getting money, but we talked, and he was, at the end of the day, his goal is to make it to the NFL and to be a player in the NFL. So how do you do that? You put up numbers. And I told him, you want to be a rich man here, or you want to be a rich man in the next spot. So, and he's always had that focus. And just like Dolphin Derek said, he's a great person too. A great person, just very intense. He wants to be the best. And I always told him this, that if you continue to work, it will become contagious to the rest of the guys. During those dark times, it was just him out there catching balls at the end of practice. And, it becomes contagious. Once people see that and they go, well, hell, if he's doing it, it must be something to it. I need to do some work too. So, again, kudos to him. And I'm excited about everything that's going on. And I got to give a big shout out to Jessica Green. At the game, she held it down in Cali for us last week. We got this thing going. Every away trip, we have to take a picture in the middle after the game in the emblem. It started with the gator head in the eye. You know, we went to USF and we took a picture in there. She held it down. Kudos to Jessica, who I say she's in charge of the old guys. That's what they say. What does she do? She's in charge of the old guys. So kudos to her. And man, what a game, man! I'm sweating, man.
You didn't go to sleep?
No, man. I think I caught up on my sleep yesterday. It's been
a lot of people went to sleep in the third quarter.
Well, I can tell you this: there were at the L House here in Weston. There was about 100 and some people, Hurricane fans. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I thought it was about 100 and something. And maybe at halftime, it might have dwindled down to about 50. You know, it got kind of slim. I even went for a walk outside myself, and I came back in and I said, you know what, hell, I cannot leave. I will not leave. I'm probably the only one in here that actually went to the University of Miami. So I have to show that I'm going to be a Hurricane through and through. And obviously that interception that was thrown that we'll probably talk about a little later, I had to say, okay, let me order some food. And food kept me there. And let me tell you. And the GM here, Reggie, he said, Miami's going to win this game. That's what he told me. When I ordered the food, He said, Miami's going to win the game. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. You just saw what happened, right? Miami's going to win the game. And let me tell you, man, what an outstanding atmosphere. People were jumping around. I got to tell you this story. This one guy, so I started watching in the back second half. I walked outside. I was walking on they have a little patio out here. It's a great setup if you ever come here. The old house here in Western Road. He said, slap my arm, slap me. He had a tattoo of a cane. I said, bro, we are starting to come back. I have not slapped your arm yet. I'm not slapping your arm. But I tell you what, if we win this game, I'm going to slap the shit out you. I promise you. And I slapped the hell out of him. I slapped his arm so hard. Man, what a great game, man. What a great game. Great comeback. You know, obviously we'll talk more if we go on when IC gets on. But, man, what a great game. I can only smile because it makes me even more proud to be a Hurricane to embrace the hate, because that's what we're doing. We're embracing the hate around here because there's a lot of haterade that they drinking everywhere.
Well, I would say about half of the Canes fans that I've spoken to since the game went to sleep in the third quarter. Amazing. But, you know, it just seems so hopeless, you know, when you're down by 25 points like that against a decent defense that, you know, when you only scored 10 points in the first half. I mean, it was looking pretty grim at that point in time, but man, they just kept chipping away. And this Cam Ward dude is something else, man. It's like I was trying to like figure out like what the heck they're doing out there, and I came up with the term improvisational offense. Wow. I mean, it's unlike anything that we've ever seen at Miami, and I give a ton of credit to Mario and Shannon Dawson for adjusting to this. Like this is not the typical offensive scheme that Shannon Dawson, for example, has spent his whole professional life nurturing and developing in his mind. Like this is, I call a play. He's probably going to change it at the line of scrimmage at least half of the time. I mean, there were a lot of run plays earlier in the season that were being switched to passes. And, you know, I know that they, you know, probably told him, listen, Cam, we got to establish the run a little bit. We got some good players in that running back room. And you saw it in the first half at Cal. They were running the ball really, really well. But to my point, like, I think the play gets changed a lot. And then when the play doesn't get changed and it starts, it does, at least half the time isn't ending the way it's drawn up to be. I mean, this is improvisational offense. Never in a million years do you draw it up to where a quarterback's just floating around. There's really no pocket. You know, he's floating around behind the line of scrimmage. You don't ever know where he's going to go. And, you know, you got receivers out there that are running routes that more often than not are going to have to break off those routes and do something that's not scripted. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, Lamar. They're leading the country in offense, doing it this way. And I give the coaches an enormous amount of credit because they're adapting to it. They're not trying to change it. Mario said after the game the other night, like if we try to micromanage Cam Ward and we're gonna jump on him when he throws in, like, that's the worst interception. We'll talk to Gino about it. That's a bad interception you'll ever see a quarterback throw. But you're going to jump on him for doing that. You start doing that to that kid, and you're going to destroy, Lamar, everything that Cam Ward is.
Well, I tell you what, a guy like Bobby Petrino would have a fit with him. Hell, he had a fit with damn Lamar Jackson. I mean, the guy's running 70 yards. He's like, what the hell is he doing? But, you know, you got to kudos to the coaching staff for letting him play. And, you know, I tried to watch, and you probably saw it better than I because you were there, but I wanted to watch when he walked to the sideline after that bad interception.
I was watching.
I don't think it didn't seem like it was too much swearing or cursing at him. It was just, it almost
Mario
like he couldn't wait to get back. Yep.
Mario had a quick chat. I asked him what he said after the game, and, you know, Mario didn't want to go there, but I'm not surprised, but I was really curious. Like, what the hell's he saying to him? You know, is he chewing him out? But it was nothing like that. I mean, it was just hey, you know, we got you, you know, kind of chat, I think. And, you know, he went on and played unbelievable, and obviously, and then won the game. Let's get IC in here to join this party. Good evening, Mr. IC.
How we doing, fellas? How we doing?
Man, how your parents doing? First of all, how's your family?
They're weathering through the storm. My dad said, "Hey, guy got me." So I said, "All right, man, we're watching, waiting for a call from tomorrow morning." But I think everyone's going to be okay on the West Coast.
Okay, good.
So I know I'm your boss, and I know your instinct is not going to be truthful, but tell us the truth. You went to bed in the third quarter the other night, didn't you?
I was up until, like Lamar said, probably 4 a.m. I think I went through every stage of emotion: denial, anger, pleading, asking like, why, what's going on? Guilt. I was blaming myself at some points. Like, what could I have done to make this better? Is there a story I could have written? Everything you could think of happened in this bedroom during that game on Saturday. I remember the third quarter. I'm just like, I was getting hell from my friends. Hell, this is the team that you said was this good. I'm like, what am I supposed to do about this? I can't control it for them. I can't. The amount of calls I made at 3 o'clock in the morning, I should have went to jail. I was, hey, what do you got to say now? I try to keep it as professional as possible, but I was amped up, I was riled up. Not too many times you see a team come back from 25 points and this Miami team. Like I always say every time I'm on the show, when I was with Gary at that Florida game, I said, Gary, is this what a good football team looks like? I'm still saying this. It's amazing to watch. But I was up all night, honestly, all night long.
Hey, I see. I can tell you this, man. I made like a Michael Irvin post, man, after the game. I was give Cam the Heisman. I mean, I'm like, because I had so many people, Ohio State fans. My guy that does my taxes, he's a Ohio State fan, and he was killing me. Oh, yeah, I thought this team was great in the third quarter. I mean, he is, and you know, you got all the Florida fans that were on my ass. You got the USF fans that were on my ass. I mean, everybody was on my ass. And I said, you know what? Ain't going to be no Diddy shit here, man. Y'all ain't getting none of this. I promise you that, boy. Well, we came back, and it was just a great, oh, man, this is I felt like I played. I really did, man. The excitement, the adrenaline, the like you said, the emotions of walking outside and making a couple calls to people during halftime. It was well worth it. It was well worth it.
So I see you played football, youth football, high school football, and you were a receiver. We'll tell everybody that, like Lamar. Could you ever imagine when you started playing football that you would ever see offense run the way Miami's running offense this year?
I'm actually surprised how this offense looks. Like, we did a bunch of stuff in the offseason kind of talking about, which records would be broken. How do you think this offense is going to go? I thought this thing was going to be, super balanced, 50-50 down the middle. Cam slinging that pill like a shady pharmacist. Like, he's just every play just throwing the rock. Even when they go down, people are like, oh, we have to establish a run. They're letting him just be him. And I think that's the best thing you can do with a guy like Cam Ward. Like you guys talked about a little bit earlier in the show, he throws that interception. You don't see people, smashing clipboards, breaking headphones. It's just, hey, come back on the sideline. Let's watch some film. Let's watch some tape. What happened? Let's get back to it. And one thing I love about Cam Ward, every time, I know this is something small that I like. Every time he goes back on the field, it's the same thing. He's a little, and then right back to it. Doesn't change anything about it, whether it's a touchdown, whether it's an interception. He's the same exact player. And I feel like that's something you can't teach. That's something that's just in you. Like, listen, I can throw 10,000 picks in this game. I can throw 10,000 touchdowns. I'm going to still be the same guy. So seeing this Miami offense is very, very surprising to me. I thought Cristobal was going to be like in the first drive. I was so happy. The first drive, I was like, man, these boys are playing bully ball. I'm ready to see this the rest of the game. I was on the message board and I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I put this on the board? I look like an idiot. At the end of the day, they still won. So excited to see this offense continue to evolve. But hey, if Cam Ward's got to throw 50 passes to win the games, let it fly.
Well, they're doing the Cam stuff all over America
all
now.
over the place. All over the place.
We see it at high school games. They were doing it at the Florida Panther game last night. You know, it's really catching on all over the country. Amazing. But LT, you know, you've been a coach for many years, and you actually had the privilege of being at Louisville when Lamar Jackson was there, right? You guys overlapped, and with you actually recruited him, but Bobby Petrino, who is one of the best offensive coaches in the country, he never would have gone for this. No chance.
Hell no. I'm telling you that this is I mean, again, Lamar will be running a 70-yard touchdown, and while he's running, Petrino is cussing out the coaches. What is he doing? He had the wrong read, and God damn it. And I'm like, bro, he's scoring a touchdown, man. He's like, why did he throw it to him? Such and such was open. Like, dude, let him be who he is. I mean, I think he might have got a little bit more lax after I left, because at that point, you got to go with, you can't bite the hand that feeds you. So I think he realized that maybe I shouldn't be as tough on him. But to watch this coaching staff, Mario, first of all, being the head coach, and then to watch Shannon, the way they handle him, it's been amazing, because, you know, we won 6 games, and if it continues to go like this, it'll be a great story. You know, obviously, I want to say there'll be some bad moments, but hell, have we not seen some bad moments? And it's been the same thing. I mean, you know, he it's almost like he's like, don't F with me. I got this. And I think the team has taken that, like, don't flinch attitude, you know, and it's almost like I didn't see any panic. I really didn't see any panic in those guys. I think us as fans panicked more, and Michael Irvin's back probably gave out because he was, I don't know what the hell move he had going on. And I mean, but I can say this. I'm just like Mike. I'm very superstitious. Out there on that patio right there, I was doing the same pacing. I paced back and forth every play, and I had to look at a certain TV. Once it starts doing it, I got to stay with it. So I understand. Once Mike got down there, he couldn't get up, especially if we started coming back. That's what happens as a player. You know, if something worse is whether wearing the same drawers or a holy T-shirt or whatever the hell, the mouthpiece or no mouthpiece, you got to stay with it, especially when you're winning. So, you know, people giving him crap, but I understood where he was going, because I must have walked at least 100 miles out there in that little patio going back and forth. So, woo!
He's getting a lot of notoriety for all that stuff too. I've seen him on talk shows, and they're playing the video of him all over the place. Now, you know, Mario's he's a stubborn guy, okay, and he has, you know, he rules with a, you know, authoritarian arm, and he knows and believes in running the football, and you know. This, for him to sign off on what's going on, you know, I know how much it has to have taken for him to give in on this and allow the offense to run like this, because, like, you know, they got a really good offensive line, and they got a really good set of running backs, and, you know, the question I have for you is, because I think the answer is that there is going to come a point in this season. And I think it started the other night, where you've got to be able to run the football.
Yes.
Even the other night, as flashy as the whole thing was, the way they ran in the first half contributed wearing down Cal's defense, which allowed them to do a lot of the things that they did in the fourth quarter. That's the way I saw it. LT?
Yeah, you got to be able to run the ball at some point. I mean, it looks great to be able to throw the ball around the yard, but that I talked about it the last couple of weeks. You got to be able to establish the run, whether it's Martinez or Fletcher or whoever, Lyle or whoever. You got to be able to run the football, at least put the fear of them. Now, I can tell you this: give kudos also to Cal's defensive front seven. I mean, they played their butt off, and the back set. I mean, the guys in the back, the cornerbacks and the safety, they played their butts off for 4 quarters. I mean, it was they got some really good talent out there, man. I've been reading about Cal people saying we should fire this guy. I mean, but he put together a pretty solid team, man. That's a good ball team. They should have beat Florida State. It's a good solid ball. They got some skilled guys on there. That number 25, I was afraid that they were going to throw a screen pass to him at the end of the game to get in the field goal. I thought they were going to run everybody down the field and just throw a screen because nobody could tackle him. Nobody. So you got to give kudos to that team, man. They played their butts off, and I'm just happy we escaped a victory out there in the Birkenstockville.
But now, all of this said, okay, so you commit to the run game going into the game, which I thought was very smart. We talked about it last week a lot, and it came to fruition the way we saw it. And they established Mark Fletcher, who looks unbelievable, by the way, coming off injury. Martinez got a lot of burn. They're running the ball as effectively as they have all season, but they only scored 10 points in the first half. Mm-hmm. So, now you're Mario and you're like, what do I do? What do I do now? We only scored 10 points. We did exactly what I'm assuming Mario asked them to do. Very, very smartly, by the way, because they do need to run the football and they do need to utilize those players to keep them engaged in the season and allow them to show their talents as well. But now you only scored 10 points, LT, and that's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it when you go to Louisville, and that team's going to score some points. And are you grounding this phenomena that Cam Ward has created just with his abilities and his performances? Are you stifling it if you run the ball, even though you got to run the ball?
Yeah, I don't think you're stifling it, but at the same time, they tried to, and their numbers. Give kudos to again Cal's defense. 0, man. He must have made 30 tackles. I mean, he was all over the place, but I think it tired him out. I think it tired him out, man. He had to make so many plays. I think that it just tired him out. He ran out of gas, and you got to run that ball. You have to establish that run because, if not, because what you're doing, you're trying to give the opposition that you face in upcoming games something else to waste their time working on. If they just concentrate on the pass, eventually they're going to shut you down. Okay. But if you give them run, play action passes, option runs, and all that good stuff, now they got to spend time working on that. And as we know, when it gets late in that game, fatigue makes a coward of us all. Sometimes you blow stuff. That play to Restrepo was a blown coverage. I mean, those guys have been out there a while. We ran the ball. We took time off the clock. We put some hurt on their defense. They made plays, but we put some hurt on them, and then all of a sudden, boom, they blow a coverage, and we are able to get down and contribute to that game-winning drive.
I see. What do you think, man? Like, put yourself in the head of Christopher Johnson, Jordan Lyle, Fletcher Martinez got a little bit more this week, but I'm sure it wasn't in their minds enough, especially when you're Fletcher and you have the first half that he had. I mean, he finished with 11 carries in the game. Martinez had 12. That's a pretty modest amount for running backs that are playing as well as they're playing. And how do all these kids, I got to assume that the winning is allowing them to have greater acceptance of the way these things have evolved, than the flip side, what it would be if they were not.
Yeah, no, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say winning solves a lot of issues. And, obviously with the running back room like that, you only have one ball and you can't, give it to these guys each and every play. I feel like they've done a great job of kind of distributing the ball. And I feel like one thing that may go overlooked a little bit is Damian Martinez in the passing game. During that game, he had a few big time check downs that, kept Miami alive in that game. And throughout the season, he's had a few, big time check downs. So I feel like him in the passing game. And then the one thing I do kind of, I'm iffy about is the Chris Johnson. I feel like every time he's in the game, you always know it's going to him. I feel like maybe throw him in there for a little bit of other things like that. Because every time, he's in the backfield, it's like, all right, Chris Johnson goes in motion, they're getting him in motion. Or Chris Johnson's doing this, they're getting him there. That'll be kind of the only critique I have about it. But besides that, I think they're doing a great job rotating those guys. You have a Heisman quarterback in Cam Ward. You're going to have to throw the ball. I get, people want to establish a run, which I did. I think, LT, you brought up a great point. That number 0 in the first half, he had 12 tackles. In the second half, there was a time Cam Ward was, running. He missed a tackle. The announcer says, hey, this guy's worn out. He's been giving his heart all night. So I feel like Miami did a great job of doing that. But at the end of the day, I think winning is going to be the biggest thing that keeps these guys happy. And, kind of throwing it back a little bit, but I saw an interview with Clinton Portis, and he said, hey, when I was in Miami, we had, all these dogs in the running back room. And my biggest thing was, hey, we're still brothers, but I'm trying to take advantage of every single rep I get. If I get one rep out here, I'm going to try to take it to the house. And I think that's kind of the mindset they have and they should have. But, like I said, winning's going to solve a lot of issues with the guys. I'm happy, what they're doing in their running back room. I'm happy with that offense. I don't think there's, many areas you can complain about with that unit.
Yeah, hey, Gary, I want to call them callers. It's not the comments from the viewers. He said, Dawson's on pace to have 4,000 passing yards and 2,000 rushing yards. What's wrong? That's a lot of yards, man. That's a lot of yards.
But I don't think Clinton Portis would have stood for getting 5 to 10 carries a game. I mean, you knew Clinton.
Hey, when he was young, he ain't had no choice.
Yeah, I don't think he would have stood for that. So I give these guys credit. Like, they're all buying into the team. Cam is a phenomenal leader, which I think helps a lot. And through the first half of the season, they've all stuck together, even though I'm sure it's not looking the way they thought it would look in training camp and spring practice. It's evolved into this monster that everybody that plays Miami is obviously going to have to deal with. Okay, now.
And Gary, hold on. And Gary, how about this? Here's another thought. Maybe we're keeping their bodies fresh. Because it's a long season, and at the end, maybe we're going to start drugging it down somebody's throat. You know what I mean? So we don't know. But, it's just one of those things. Those guys are fresh. They're not injured. That's another thing. They're all pretty healthy. So, who knows how we might have to change. The game evolves. You got to change your game plan. Who knows? We might have some games where we have to run the football. And I think that backfield with all those guys can do it.
And one of those games might be the next one. We'll talk more about it next week. But that game at Louisville coming up, you may want to kill a little clock in that one and run the ball a little bit. But we'll break that one down next week. All right, so guys, you're sitting at halftime. And you're rallying the troops and you're saying, how we're going to get this game going in our direction. And you come out early in the third quarter and Cam Ward throws about the worst interception you will ever see a quarterback throw. It's across his body. It's floating up in the air. That's a 99 out of 100 probability of getting picked. There's no doubt about it. And you're saying to yourself, I was saying to myself, how in the world would he do that? Like, this kid is way too good, Lamar, to be making a mistake like that. How does that happen?
Well, you said how in the hell. I had some other choice words, but man, I was like, holy shit, what did I just see? Like,
what did I just see?
It took the wind out of me, man. I was like, oh my God, what are you thinking, bro? And then I'm watching it walk off, and I'm just like, you don't care, dog? You don't care? Man,
it looked like he didn't have a worry in the world, right?
Like, I'm like, what in the hell? And I saw people walking out. I said, oh man. But you know what he did do in the second half? All the complaining that most of us had about their guys standing right in front of you. Hit them. Their guys standing right in front of you. Hit them. Stop looking downfield so much. He started hitting them. And that was some of those big plays, the check downs and stuff like that. He started hitting them, and things just started opening up. I mean, you know, it was after that interception, it was a whole different ball game for him. Yeah, I mean, he was like out there playing street ball, touch football with the boys, and just enjoying it. And you know, he also showed that he can run the ball. He actually, watching him early in the season, I said, man, he's kind of slow. But he turned it on that one run. And
yeah,
I mean,
he's not that slow. It's the way he runs. He looks like he's just out for a Sunday morning jog. But he's going by people while he's doing it. It's the weirdest thing. Like you're saying, like, why isn't he running hard? But nobody's catching him. Yeah.
He had the one run early in the year. I think it was maybe Virginia Tech, where I was like, man, he's like Kelvin Harris slow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he turned it on. That run he had to score a touchdown. I was like, no, don't run it. Don't. Okay, we'll run it. Run it then. He's running away from people.
Nobody could get near him. Like, I see you were slow. You know.
Oh.
Whoa. I say, whoa, hold on now.
You can relate to this conversation, baby. You can relate, like you know, how does he just stay faster than everybody, looking so slow?
I feel like it's kind of one of those things where it's just like his game speed. Like it's like sometimes people think Derrick Henry's slow, but he's flying by people, things like that. So like, I don't know if it's like if he has to. It's perplexing. It's like one of the 8 wonders of the world. You know, I really want to see when he runs that 40 at the combine, what his 40 is going to be. I probably won't even run it, but that's going to be something.
If he wins the Heisman, he might want to sit that one out like Lamar Jackson did. Just sit it out. Don't worry about it. Hey, it's not what you got me for, baby. I mean, it's almost like he's pushing like he's playing the video game and he's pushing that R2 button or the R2 button, and he's getting that speed burst and stuff. I mean, it was it just looked entirely different, because again, I saw him early in the season. I was like, man, he's slow, but he just had it all together. That whole game, man. I want to go back and watch it again, because I want to fast forward some of the bad parts. I just want to watch the end. You know what I mean? Just the end, because it was a thing of beauty. Really was.
All right, Gino Torretta is going to be joining us soon. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about Cam Ward and a lot of these topics. But I wanted to ask you about Michael Irvin. There was a time here where former players weren't allowed on the sideline, and now you have Michael Irvin down there, and you've been down there a lot, and you guys now are the sideline. And but Michael is so engaged, like, and obviously that's been embraced by Mario, or it wouldn't be happening. Your thoughts just on the whole phenomena now of Michael Irvin on the sideline?
For so long, we've had these coaches get here, and they've all promised us that it was going to be like that, because that's what it was back in the day. As a player, to see these guys on the sideline and to be able to ask questions, and to also say, I'm not trying to let that guy down. I got to make a play in front of that guy. It was very refreshing. It was like something we looked forward to. And again, these coaches that all promise, oh, we're going to let you guys back on and this and that. And it's always something. But I think now, man, Mario, because he was once that player also that saw these guys on the sideline, he's just like, look, man, it's not anything being disruptive. I mean, hell, half the time I'm not even in the box. I'm not even half the. A lot of the time I'm just not in the box. Guys will come down and ask questions, man. Because they see that, and it's like having. It's just like having a mentor there, a guy that can, maybe say, or just saying, hey, man, great catch. It has to do something to these guys, because they look on the walls, and these are guys that they might not have seen us play, but they see us on the walls. They see our names, and they see the way people respect us when we walk in the stadium, or they boo us. There's something to being booed, that you've obviously done something great. So, I mean, it's kudos to Mario, man. He's trying to do it right, man. It's not any foolishness. It's not guys, acting crazy. It's just guys wanting to help and just wanting to be around these guys, whether it's coming to practice. That's a big thing, man. Guys were promised a long time ago we could come to practice, and then all of a sudden we get there and the door's locked and all kind of stuff like that. But now it's open. He's opened it to former. He wants us there. He wants us there so these guys can see and we can see and give advice. And I mean, it's like the old days again, man. It's like the old days.
Do you think these kids really know who Michael Irvin is?
Yes. They probably saw him in the movie. They probably saw him on ESPN, and I'm sure that they saw him on the 30 for 30. Oh, no, he was on. He is one of those guys that, he's a hurricane through and through. I consider myself one. There's a lot of guys that just like it, that we bleed orange and green, and we would love for every other player to bleed orange and green right along with us. So we try to pass it along because, when I left Gainesville, I embraced this hurricane culture, man. I became engulfed in it and engrossed in it, and it was no looking back, and I can't. People always say, "Hey, man, do you have anything else besides orange and green stuff?" I go, "Yeah, but I don't wear it." Shit, I'm wearing orange and green every day.
You hit the equipment room every time you go to campus. No, you don't have anything else.
Best friends. They're my best friends, man. Brian and Goose, all them guys, they're my best friends, man. I go in there, man, because you know what? I love hurricane gear. I love it. That's why I want a job there, so I can just wear the gear every day of my life. I want to be buried in it.
That's why we do the show inside Caneswear. All right, Gino Torretta is going to join us in a second, but first, let's hear from our friends at Caneswear.
Welcome to Caneswear.
New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
And yeah, guys, like we said earlier, if there's anything that you want that is cane related, whether it be t-shirts, jerseys, polos, hats, hoodies, flags, magnets, anything you could possibly dream of that they can put the U logo on, you will find at Caneswear, which is at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or you could shop them any hour of the day at caneswear.com. They've got sizes for men, women, kids, and babies. They have gear for pets, and they even have Dolphins. The Dolphin. Well, you don't want any Dolphin stuff this year, the way that season's going. They won.
The
Panthers back in action. They did a great job on opening night against Boston. Inter Miami Soccer is the talk of the soccer world. So if you want to wear any of their stuff, also they have it at Caneswear. You can buy it while you buy your Cane stuff. So 26.55.
Brett has it all. Brett has it all, man.
Yes, he does, man. And you can go to the store, 2655 South University Drive in Davie. If you're going to Hard Rock Stadium, we won't be back for a couple weeks, but if you're going to Hard Rock Stadium, say on the day of the FSU game, you could stop by there on your way to the stadium. It's about 15 minutes north. Load yourself up and get yourself some food next door at the sub shop that feeds Lamar when he's over there, La Spada, and just make it a very productive trip to Caneswear. And like I said, if you can't get to the store live, just go to caneswear.com and you could shop them any hour of the day. So Caneswear at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, and caneswear.com for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs.
Hey, Gary, let me give a shout out to the Ale House here at 2618 Western Road for hosting. This is the new Canes takeover right here. It's the home of the Canes right here, baby. Come on in here. They got the Gator. We moved Gator fans and Florida State fans out of the way. Get the hell out of here. We took over this place thanks to Reggie, the GM. Come on in here, man. This is a great spot. Man, this is our new home right here. The Ale House. Come on in, baby. Come on in.
They must have fed you some calamari or something.
You know it. You know it.
Yeah, I could tell. All right. Now we're gonna bring in the guy that well, I mean, if you talk to Lamar, he'll tell you that he made Gino Torretta. We'll say that Gino Torretta made Lamar. It doesn't matter. They're the best of friends. Gino, welcome back to the Lamar Thomas Show. Always appreciate you coming by. I saw you up at Cal before the game last weekend, and we talked for a few minutes. And I was thinking about it all night because you identified all the different things that you were nervous about going into that game that you felt could potentially go wrong in that game. And man, the game started and it really
you thought I know what I was talking about.
I was like, oh my freaking God, man. I mean, that's why they give this guy a microphone on game day. I mean, it was like you hit every point and we were watching it. And then of course there was the comeback, but why don't we start out with just your general reflections on the trip out to Cal?
Well, I just, from the start, I mean, Justin Wilcox is a head coach because of what he did as a defensive coordinator. I mean, he's put together great game plans. He did it at Wisconsin, before Cal, he did it at Oregon. So, I was concerned anytime you give somebody like that 2 weeks to prepare, that he's going to have something and they're going to show something that, Cam hasn't seen and our team hasn't seen and we weren't prepared for. Jaden Ott entered the season as like the leading returning back in college football. He was averaging like 95 a game, 130 all-purpose yards. He's a player, but he jacked up his ankle in week 1 and he hasn't been 100%. And I'm like, okay, an extra week off. Now, if he gets 100%, he's a legitimate playmaker kind of going in. And then the late start. I mean, I can remember Lamar and I, we played in Arizona my junior year, and it was about the same thing, 10:30 p.m. Eastern kick. And I swear to God, I remember at halftime, man, if I had a hammock, I could have went to sleep in a locker room. That's how tired I was. And all those things concern me. They went out a day early, which means to me they changed their routine, which I don't necessarily like. I mean, I've been on NFL teams and college teams where you change up. Sometimes some people do it the same. I don't know what the right answer is. I would say just stay with the same routine. But all those concerns, you're right, was exactly what happened. I mean, it looked like the first half, Cam was going back looking left and right. When a quarterback is looking left and right, that means he's confused. He's not sure maybe what he's seeing. And that's all they were doing. And then, obviously settled down. And, I don't know about you, but does it seem like he's trying to get everybody involved in the offense? And then when you realize the game's on the line, he just finds number 7. And that dude is one of the toughest dudes in college football. I mean, it's like he'll find a crease, and there ain't no doubt that ball's near him. Restrepo's catching the ball. I mean, it was, the one, I don't know if it was I don't think it was a 2-point. I think it was a touchdown. Restrepo caught a touchdown opposite end from where we were broadcasting, so in the corner where our fans were. I mean, that was the most beautiful pick play. I mean, rub route I've ever seen, because I was like,
I like the way you said
dude
that,
at the 2-yard line was like 10 yards from anybody defensively. I'm like, all right, that's got to be a pick, but the officials didn't call it, and we were fortunate. But man, they made some plays down the stretch. Obviously when you give up points like that, it's always concerning defensively. But that's kind of my take on it. Listen, I grew up out there. I went to a ton of games growing up as a kid, and that was by far the best environment I've ever been in that stadium. I mean, there was people. I mean, I broadcasted a game there probably 10 years ago, and Ohio State was number 3 in the country. You could have gotten tickets for $3 walking in that stadium. And Miami brought the fans, they brought the hype, and the Cal. Cal obviously felt they had a good enough team to win, and they were good enough for 59 minutes and 45 seconds, just not good enough for 60 minutes. So that's kind of what I saw, and at least the heat. The heat, I think, probably helped us. I mean, it was unbearable out there. But other than that, that's kind of what I saw.
Hey, Gino, I got to ask you, I wasn't there, but I know that people were up there in those trees. Were they still up there? I mean.
No. They were protesting the expansion, so they added on the back of the stadium. So there was a bunch of redwoods, California redwoods, right behind the west side of the stadium, and so they cut all those trees down. But years and years ago, I remember, you broadcast the game and you walked up to the booth and there was people literally in tents hanging in the trees that were just as high as you were, about 6 stories up. I mean,
and the cannon too, right? It was a cannon up there, right?
Crazy. What's that?
It was a cannon up there too, right?
Oh no,
Is that
that's on the other side. That's Tightwad.
Okay.
That's Tightwad Hill. That's still there. That's where the cheap
Okay.
people that don't buy a ticket and then they shoot off a cannon every time count. Tightwad Hill is still there. Just the redwood trees on the west side of the stadium towards the Golden Gate were no longer there because they cut them down to expand their put a new football facility in.
Hey, Gino, another question for you, man. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about college, but in high school, you know, you have a guy as a quarterback. You have a guy that you know you can count on. I mean, right? You just know when shit gets all crazy, you know that's where you're gonna throw it to. You know, right? I'm just saying as a quarterback, because I'm seeing when the game's on the line, Cam is looking for number 7, like you said. Is that a quarterback's feeling? You know,
it sure looked like it. I mean, that's why I said it almost seemed like, you know, he's trying to distribute the ball around more during, and then, man, when things got tight, he was looking to 7. And I don't know. I mean, I know this when I'm sitting there broadcasting the game, and I'm like, man, I can't be the only guy in the stadium thinking just double cover 7. I mean, you know what I mean? That's all I was saying. I'm like, you guys got to give up 4 touchdowns and one of them with the 2-point conversion to lose this game. Just double cover 7. That's what I would have done the whole game. And, you know, listen, Wilcox didn't do it, and Sermon as DC. I mean, they had a great game plan up to that point. I mean, you know, Miami or Cal's defense had him in long yardage situations. You know, he throws a bang 8 up the seam for a touchdown. I mean, that was a tough throw coming off. You know, the only thing I didn't care for, Cam was very, I don't know how you say it, laissez-faire, nonchalant with the ball a little bit. I thought at times the defense is going to play defense good sometimes, and nobody's open, and you just chuck it away and go to second down. And Cam holds it a long time, and I thought he probably took about 6 totally unnecessary hits. And as somebody I mean, listen, your offense runs through the quarterback. You get 6 unnecessary hits. One of them could be like Mendoza took, and you're knocked out of a game, and that cost your team the game. And those are the only things I thought, you know, Cam, I would have just wanted to get rid of the ball, you know, and just.
And how many times did I tell you, Gino, get your ass down? How many times I tell you, you better get down.
You didn't have to worry about me. I was trying to get the first down. I wasn't running around just holding it to the sideline. That's for damn sure. So
I looked at who we had to back up. I said, hell no, you better stay your ass in here.
So, Gino, you won the Heisman Trophy the traditional way. Okay, you dropped back. You had great receivers. You found the open guy. You delivered the football. And it took you all the way to college football's greatest prize. Okay.
Yep.
Now we're watching a guy try to win the Heisman Trophy in a whole different way, and I'm calling it improvisational offense.
Well, I don't know if it's improv. I would say this: they run a lot more stuff that Lamar and I used to run. A lot of the same offensive schemes and things like that. We went. I mean, listen, we were under center. Obviously, my junior year, a little bit more offensive line. We went to the shotgun because they were maybe a little more Swiss cheese my senior year. So we went to shotgun to somewhat try to be able to just get it out and see defensive guys coming. And I think that they run a lot more of that, the same scheme. And, you know, I thought early on in the game, I thought they could have leaned more on Martinez and those guys to run the rock. I mean, I was just like, man, take this crowd out of it. You got a big offensive line, physical, and that was probably the weakness of Cal was their defensive front against the run. I thought they were going to lean a little bit more on the run, and then, you know, Cam's, you know, his numbers in the second half had to be off the chart, because I remember looking at halftime, I'm like, that's not a, you know, it wasn't a huge stat game. And then by the end of it, you know, hell, he was almost breaking my records. And I know how Lamar's a record watcher. When somebody's got some catches in the game, I was like, damn, he's got 434. He's going to break my record for a game. But you know, it's I don't know if it's unconventional. I think it's conventional. I think that he's that good, and I think they're maybe unfortunately our defense has put our offense in positions that he's needed to do that and put up, grand numbers to win the game.
So, I kind of want to stick on the Heisman thing and ask you about it. Obviously, a lot of people always say, hey, Heisman moment this, Heisman moment that. The year you won the Heisman, was there a game that you realized, okay, I really, have a real shot at this, or when you really thought, I deserve this trophy?
I think for me as the season, before the season, I'm like, if we win, I would have a chance. I knew that obviously the offense went through me. If we won games, I would be in the discussion. There was a stretch we played Arizona, Penn State, and Florida State, and I would think they were all top 10, maybe top 6 defensively in college football at the time, and I think one columnist said if Torretta survives those 3 games and they win, he will be the front runner for the Heisman. I think getting through those games in the middle of the year. And then I'd probably say, Florida State, when I threw one of Lamar and got the wind knocked out of me, I think was probably a big moment. And then we played West Virginia, I think, after that. And I had about 13 or 14 completions in a row. And, it's kind of when Bobby Bowden and Don Nehlen in their press conferences said, this guy's the difference maker. He's the best player in the country. And they knew the offense. I mean, I called the plays at the line of scrimmage, and, it was good. So,
and Gino,
I had one moment. It was a game. And I would say in today's game, I think the winners even today, that's what that is. Everybody tries to say that's the one moment, but hell, you got 15 games or 12 games. What do you got before? And it's not one. One game can basically ruin your hopes. But
that's true too.
It's guys got to go out there and play consistently. And then I think that a couple outstanding games where when the eyeballs are on you, when they're playing Florida State, when they're playing Penn State, when you're playing the best teams in the country, and all the eyeballs are on you, and you wow them with the total game performance. I think I think everybody. I think nowadays, I think they all have to do it because all the games are on TV. But I don't know. There's one game. It was probably just a stretch, and then when those coaches came out saying that about me, I thought I had a good chance. But hell, you don't know until they announce your name, until they pull out that envelope.
And you got on the white socks. And you got on them damn white socks.
Those are my lucky white socks, Lamar, because remember we had business trips, away games. We had to wear a suit and tie, and I had a size 14 shoe. I think the only thing Dadeland, like Florsheim, I don't even know that's a company anymore. They had some black loafers, and I did not buy dress socks for my suit, so I had a nice suit, some cheap dress shoes, and literally my white tube socks, and I hadn't lost a game, so I figured I was sticking with it. So I wore my white socks. It's just the bad thing was I was on an elevated booth, and the TV showed my feet and legs, and I was like, oh boy, I'm getting the business now.
Well, I can tell you this, Gino, as one of your teammates, there are 2 moments I say your Heisman moment right here. Okay, one, when your press guy, your key press guy, gave the Heisman pose against West Virginia after the stop and go.
By the way, it was
Aaron Beasley.
I would just say this: that was such a weak Heisman pose. The announcers on TV didn't even know what you were doing. But go ahead.
I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. It was just, I just did it, man. It was so awful. It was bad, but I still did it. And then
you look like Smithers from The Simpsons, all like crumpled up.
You're like, what is he doing? And the guy says, I think he's throwing the Heisman pose back, pointing to Gino Torretta.
I miss Ron Franklin and Godfrey. I used to love when they come to our games. I love those guys' voices.
And then the second moment, I think, was the San Diego State game, where obviously the Florida State game, the touchdown, but the San Diego State game where we basically took the ball over right before half, and I think we scored in like 25 seconds. Maybe was it 25 seconds? Maybe 30 seconds.
You know what?
I don't know.
I don't even remember. I just remember my head being on a swivel because everybody wanting to fight us, and I was not a fighter. So,
all right. So obviously, Cam knows he's in the middle of this thing.
yes.
When you were in the middle of this thing, were you thinking about the Heisman Trophy when you showed up at the stadium on Saturday?
No, not at all. You're thinking about preparing every single week. As this, I guess I would say this, as this progresses, there is going to be more people pulling at him to do interviews, and it's going to be additional time.
Yes.
I just know my schedule was we had Tuesday press conference, and I was in front of a podium every single week, which was normal. And then we were totally cut off, or at least the quarterback was totally cut off from the press by Thursday. And then as you're in the thick of it, then, hey, ABC is coming to town. Keith Jackson and Jack Arute would like to talk to you on Friday. They would like to get you on film. And then, the coaches, they're not going to say no at that point because the exposure helps recruiting, it helps your program, it helps all that stuff. So he's going to there's going to be more pulls on his time. I can't imagine,
Today.
doing that today and also NIL trying to monetize that, because I think probably everybody's trying to monetize that time because that's that time is that short. So it's going to be on, I think the media relations team and that to kind of basically give them some kind of guidance and or somebody's got to be there. I mean, Linda Britton or Venson was Linda Britton was married name. Linda Venson was our SID. I mean, she was with me, 24 hours a day basically. That's kind of how it was my senior year. And she, hey, you got this interview, you got that, and she would prep me for all the interviews and things like that. So, it's going to be a lot on him if they can continue to win. I mean, listen, the quarterback, yeah, you're in the Heisman race, but you got to keep winning to stay in those races. You can't listen. Nobody wants to be, props to Geno Smith. He's still playing, but everybody gave him the Heisman Trophy his junior or senior year in September, and then their team hit a wall, and it was like, he was nowhere to be found at the end of the year. So you don't want to win it in September. You want to put yourself in a position to win it in September, and then continue on in October, and then you seal the deal end of October, early November.
And Gary, I can say this: his teammates, Gino, man, he was thinking about winning. I could tell you, he really wanted to win games. I mean, hell, all he talked about was winning. His teammates were more concerned with trying to get him this thing. I mean, hell, I had to basically con him into throwing me the ball. I told him, I said, I've never seen a freaking quarterback win the Heisman handing that bitch off. I sure did. We were first and goal from the one, and I said,
first off, my first promoter, rest his soul, was Cortez Kennedy, because I had one big game as a redshirt freshman, and I showed up to practice the next day, and Cortez was calling me Mr. Heisman. So I mean, Tez was calling me Mr. Heisman from my freshman year on. But I think, listen, they have a good team. They've started off undefeated. He's in the discussion. He's in the discussion based on how well he's played, and I think that it can continue. But listen, it's the greatest individual award in all of sports, but you rely on your team to help you win it, and he's going to have to rely on his team to continue to be in it and win it.
I don't think anybody's going to have to talk him into throwing the ball. He audibles out of running plays a lot. Some people thought in the first half the other night, Gino, that he was trying too hard to get plays down the field and was leaving some, meat on the bone by not seeing open receivers that were in front of him in the short to mid-range game. Did you observe that?
There was guys in the flat, but listen, you go into a game plan, when people say the quarterback's trying to do that, if the quarterback's trying to do that, that's what they practiced all week. And that comes more from the staff of, hey, this is why we're calling this play. We want to take a shot here. and maybe he just, passed up the short passes. I just, to me, I kind of thought it was a late start. I thought they started in a funk, and I thought Cal's offense came out, guns on fire. I mean, Mendoza is accurate. He's a smart kid. He's a tough kid. He makes great throws. Wiry, he's not fast, but man, when he scrambles, he produces. And I think that they had a great game plan going into that game, and it put Miami behind the 8 ball. And I think that's why I said, like, when they came out in the second half, it was like, where's number 7? And I can't blame them, because I will say there was catches that could have been made in that first half. Now they're tough catches. I ain't never going to say receivers, just dropping the ball. They were tough catches. But I thought that his playmakers around him could have done a little bit more. I mean, I told Lamar on Monday when I called him, I said, listen, if you ever ran 2 deep posts for me and I threw a ball stride for stride and your ass let you hit that ball in the stomach, I would have kicked his ass. And that's point blank, because you get a ball perfectly thrown down the middle of the field, I don't care where you got to high point the ball, go up and catch it at its highest point, because that would have been 2 touchdowns right in the middle of the field.
Yep.
And I forget the timing of it, but listen, Cal was playing lights on fire on defense, and they were hitting those guys. And it's like, hell, you're gonna get hit, make the catch, And there were some tough catches that you got to props to them. They knocked it out of our guys, but they weren't messing with 7. 7 was finding zones, and even if they were hitting him, he was catching it.
Yeah. So you mentioned the staff, and Lamar. We were in IC, and I were talking about this earlier in the show. The way this offense has evolved can't possibly be the way it was drawn up in spring. I know it wasn't, because I was there. Like, you didn't see this in spring practice. Like this. You didn't see it in training camp like this. This offense, the way it is being witnessed on the field, has evolved because of the talents of the quarterback. And as coaches, Shannon Dawson, Mario Cristobal, I mean, I'm giving them a lot of credit because they haven't fought it. Mario wants to run the ball.
I think I would say this, Gary, regarding the offense. Cam ran a very similar offense at Washington State. And I think that it takes you a little bit of time, one, to learn new terminology, and then, listen, your personnel and how they mature and how you make plays, whether it's in practice 2 days or the start of the season, kind of changes how you're going to call a game. Cal's leading receiver was the start of 2 days was a third team guy, not even practicing with the starters, but he comes out, he plays lights out first couple of games. Now all of a sudden he's in the starting lineup, and that changes how you offensively what you're going to look to do. But I think what Shannon was doing in spring and summer, it's the same thing. I think that he realizes some other guys, some strengths and things like that guys have. I like that they went under center a little bit. I'd love to see a little bit more, especially in running situations, because I don't know. I'm of the belief you get under center, you run inside, outside zone, you allow a cutback lane, and I don't really care if the defense knows you're running the ball. It's if you run it, you got numbers blocking, and that I wish they would go a little bit more under center. But I think a lot of it is just figuring out what Cam was comfortable with, because he ran similar situation in Wazoo. And I mean, I would say the Cal game plan, man, they were forced into throwing it all over the lot in the second half because they were, behind the 8 ball by that point in time.
And another thing, Gary, when you talk about spring practice, you don't want to give away with today's game. These guys are breaking down your spring game. Like, they are totally breaking down. They're watching the TV copy to see if they can steal signals. They might even have a guy there standing in the stands. I mean, the spring game, you got to be as basic as you can, not wanting to give away too much stuff. You want to see if guys can make plays against the defense because they know what you're doing. You want to lead that thing going, okay, I know this guy can make plays, because guess what? He did it against a defense that already knew what he was doing, and it was basic stuff. You know, you don't want to do too much, give too much away, because you don't want to give that team that's watching those films all your stuff that they can like if Cal would have run that fake pass they scored on, you know, in the spring ball, we would have been prepared for it. You understand what I'm saying? You don't want to give away your stuff. So it's just basic stuff.
Although I would say I'm very glad they didn't give the ball to 24, because there wasn't a faster person in that stadium on Saturday night.
Was it 24 or 25? I don't know what he was, but he was fast.
Hold on. I gotta look at my board. I saw Xavier Thomas. Yep. He's a sophomore from Oakland, California, McClymonds.
Man, he was
Homeboy was averaging 7 yards a clip coming in. I think he was averaging more than 7 after that game.
Man, that dude was fast, bro.
Yeah.
Good Lord. I said earlier before you came on, I was afraid that they were going to run everybody down the field and just swing him out the backfield, and nobody was going to tackle him. He was going to end up in field goal range. Nobody was going to tackle him.
Don't give up my secrets. 83X tailback delay. Don't give up my secrets.
I hate that. I hated that play, matter of fact.
I know, because you knew the back was going to catch it for a plus 20.
So how did we almost lose the last 2 games, guys? You know, so many great things happening. We got a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback emerging. How did we almost lose these last 2 games?
Virginia Tech, I thought there was an extensive amount of missed tackles defensively. I think that, I don't know, what do they say? Live by the sword, die by the sword. We bring a lot of blitzes, and if people catch us wrong, they can gash us pretty good. And I think that both teams did. You know, the flat route to Ott, they went 66. I mean, all that was misdirection, and threw him a little flat route, and his guy got bumped off in coverage. So I think that, you know, that stuff's got to get cleaned up. You know, like I said, offensively, I just thought we were going to pound it a little bit more early, but I would probably just chalk up the Cal game as more of, you know what, they're exhausted from flying out there. They didn't play well, and then kind of woke up in the second half. But let me say this: in a bye week, I would not want to be over there in a bye week, because their week of practice this next week will probably be harder than even a 2-a-day, because now you have stuff on film that you can correct.
So let's talk running game. You know, pounding the rock, and they came out looking to establish they had to abandon it. What does a running game do for an offense that's succeeding so much in the passing game? And what do they do going forward, having had such great success throwing the football? How do they stay committed to the run?
I think with the clock in today's college game, if you can run the ball with success, I mean, you shorten the game so much. I mean, because the clock doesn't stop for first downs, doesn't stop when you go out of bounds. You know, if you can get, you know, heck, I did the Georgia Tech Florida State game in Ireland. It was like, you know, Georgia Tech had 2 drives, 7 minutes, one in the second quarter and one in the second half. And basically you deflate the ball. You just keep it from the other team, and you don't get, you know, I can remember after broadcasting a game, I called Shannon. I said, hey, man, before you guys go to Gainesville, just know you're not going to get 80-some plays. You might get 60. And that's back when Lamar and I played. You'd get 60, but that was with the clock stoppages and stuff, so you don't get a lot of opportunities. And I think that if you get behind the clock, it takes you out of your game plan pretty quickly. So I think that, you know, listen, they have to be kind of ahead of the chains, if you will. Defenses, you know, they've got to clean up some stuff. I know they were preaching about the missed tackles going out to Cal. So I think there's a lot of we got a lot of football left in this season. Louisville, I'm sure, will have a good game plan with Brom for us. I mean, there's still some good teams on the schedule that you know, we're going to have to clean up a lot of the stuff that we did. But you still have to be. I mean, with the backs they have, with Martinez, and to that end, How about a screen pass? How about a draw? How about like short passes to our backs just to keep them involved? You don't necessarily have to run the ball as a handoff. Like jet sweep to me is a handoff, but they can call it passing yards for the quarterback, which I think is totally BS because now all my records are getting beat. But anyway, because I'd have just thrown that to K-Dub
all day long,
handing it off in front of me. But I think those are things that I would, if you can't, you get behind a little bit if you can't run the ball, like the short passes to Martinez and Fletcher and those guys. I think that I just incorporate that stuff more into the game plan.
I see. We don't want to hog your airtime. What you got, man?
No, I want to kind of touch on what Gino said about getting under center because, early in the show when I was like on the message board, those boys are playing bully ball. I was like, Cam's getting under center. I feel like that's the best Martinez looked in the run game. I feel like when he was out at Oregon State, that's the best he's looked running the ball kind of, under center, not in that shotgun thing where, he's getting this, snap right away. I feel like he's building momentum. He's hitting those holes a little harder. And I think with that 1-2 punch with Mark Fletcher and Martinez, I think you have to get, that run game established. Obviously, you want Cam to, be Cam more. Do you want to hold him back? But I do think at some point during the season, this run game is going to be, something that wins the game. And I really, really do want to see them continue kind of that under center stuff. Obviously, you don't have to run it 30, 40 times a game, but kind of throw that in there. And, like I said, too, getting the running backs involved in the passing game. Martinez had, that huge reception in the red zone that set them up near the goal line. And, he's more than, a good receiving back, too. And I feel like that part of the game kind of gets, overlooked and things like that. But just, involving those running backs is, something I want to see, evolve and continue this year.
Yeah, I would say this. My senior year was more shotgun, and literally I would go under center myself. And I don't know. I mean, maybe in today's day and age they would figure out my tendencies, but certain plays I just went under center. If it was 3rd and 4, and I wanted to throw a hitch, I wasn't sitting in shotgun. I mean, I was going to get under center at least to get. Then the defense like, well, is he going to hand the ball off or whatever? So I think that to me, I would want. I always practiced going under center and at shotgun and both. And just did whatever, but I had the freedom to do that. I think that if they start getting under center more, because with the running game is you allow for the cutback. They just outside zone, the flow of the defense, Martinez and Fletcher, they can stick a foot in the ground and cut back. And those are the huge plays in a running game. But it doesn't come from sitting in shotgun because you want your running back running at the line of scrimmage. And I will harp on that until I die, and I wish, but in college football they love sitting in that gun and handing it sideways, and every running back I know wants to hand it off as they're running at the line of scrimmage. So I would agree with you. I just hope that if they're going to start doing that, just have Cam get under center. You just got to tap the center and say, hey, I'm under center this play, okay. So they know not to snap it through your legs. But
I see. I know you're young, so you didn't get to see Greedy Steve. He would line up about 9 yards deep, and he was coming downhill as hard as he could.
Lamar, I love Gary. Hey, I love Gary's. He's like, do you think they know who Michael Irvin? Michael Irvin's been on TV for about 30 years. Okay, their entire life that dude's been on Sunday television and ESPN. They know who Michael Irvin is. Now, if you busted out, I'm going to say, let's see, what are we in 24? If you busted out the 2001 team, I'll bet you most of them don't know who the hell anybody on the 01 team. Definitely not 91. Definitely not 83. Definitely not 87. They don't know who any of us are. I would say that. So, but
they don't know the Michael Irvin that they're looking face to face at on game day the last few weeks. They don't know that Michael Irvin.
Intense, man.
I was gonna say after this year, they gotta frame that shirt he's wearing, the long sleeve, man.
He better wear that bitch every game. Shit, I don't even know if he's washing it or not. Shit, I've been wearing the same damn pants.
I've just got several messages from people who are like, man, I want whatever Michael's on.
Hey, Gary, just so you know, Mike came down on the sideline of Virginia Tech. As soon as I saw him, I left. Because I know they don't need me no more. Can't have two of us down there now. Shit. So, I mean, man, Mike he's just passionate about it, man. He loves the Canes. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I love it. I mean, hell.
Good thing you did, because they were hanging out with EJ at 1.
Yeah, no, my wife didn't let me go there, buddy. You know, that was another reason why I left. As soon as he said Lamar, I said, no, I'm going home tonight, Betty. Going home tonight.
You're wise, you old KG veteran.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes,
So Gino, I don't know if everybody knows that you do a lot of broadcasting now. It's Touchdown Radio, right? From
Touchdown Radio. That's my game, and I'm actually I was supposed to go tomorrow to Southern California. I delayed it a day, so I'm heading out Friday. I have the Penn State USC game next week. We have Florida State, Miami, end of October. At Penn State, Ohio State later in the year, and travel around.
So you're
doing the double boot? Wait, Gary, wait. Hold on now. We doing the double boot? The last time we got blown out, bro. Come on, dog.
What's that? We got blown out because I wanted out of the booth, so I paid you to take my microphone for half the game. But
so I am also an employee of Touchdown Radio. I'm on Touchdown Radio at least once a year. Last year I got to do the Iron Bowl, which was a great experience. I appreciate that, Gino. Can't wait to see what this year has to offer. Maybe your daughter might have a function again, and you call me up and say, it was great during COVID too. He would call me up and say, "Hey, LT, I ain't getting on no plane."
Well, you were
in
the center of it. You still in Kentucky. You could drive to about 8 schools.
Can you drive to Michigan State? Can you drive to this game? Hell yeah, I got you, brother. I got you. It was fun, man. He would just call me up. Hey, bro, you know I ain't getting on no plane with this COVID stuff. I go, hey, I got you, dog. I got you.
So we did Georgia. I did Georgia, Clemson. Did Kentucky, Clemson. Trying to think, I've done them twice.
So you're seeing a lot of teams. How's Miami stacking up, in your opinion?
I think they're very good. I think offensively, when you can score like they do, obviously you got a chance. I think the concerns, at least, championships are won, I think, on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that we got to shore some things up and not let people score as many points and not put the pressure, on our offense, because I think that when you look at the size of Georgia, the size of Ohio State, the size of Bama, it's in the trenches, and you see those guys. They all have skill players. Or I would say we all have kind of skill players. It's the ones that are, beasts at the line of scrimmage. I'm really looking forward to seeing Penn State this week. They get after the quarterback better than anybody last season and this season so far. They just haven't gotten over the hump. I mean, they've won 10 games in a row, 4 straight years. They just haven't been able to beat Ohio State, even when they had Saquon and talent like that. So I think that could be a year, because they're very talented and on both sides of the ball, but they get after it on the defensive side of the ball. But I mean, we can compete. We have the players to compete. We have to stay healthy too. I think this college ball now is going to be more towards the NFL, towards the latter part of the season, with having to play 15 or win 15 games to win a championship. Yep. You might get a game or a team like the Packers when they were wild card at 8-8 or 9-8, making the playoffs, and they win the Super Bowl because they were banged up during the year. So if somebody gets banged up at the end of the year, it's not going to be good. So it's going to be kind of a battle of attrition as we go through this thing.
Hey, Gino, are you surprised? You say you did the Clemson Georgia game, right? Are you surprised with Clemson so far this year? I mean, I don't know if it was a bad showing. I think that Georgia was a better team that day. I mean, what do you think of Clemson?
I was very surprised at Clemson at how pedestrian their offense was. I thought they recruit good players and have good players, and Klubnik is talented physically. You see guys that are on the sidelines where you're just like, wow, this kid can sling it. But they just, to me, when Georgia beat them, they could not run away from man coverage, and they couldn't block, what's his name, Michael, number 13. The kid's going to be the first pick of the NFL draft. He's just big, fast, comes off the edge, and they basically blocked him in the knee and messed up his ankle and got him out of the game. They couldn't stop him. But I was a little shocked at the lack of probably athleticism on the outside that they did not have, because Klubnik can throw it. There was no big plays. There was no, I don't know. They just didn't have. They got their butts kicked against Georgia. And
I think they made some changes. They put some freshmen in there, right? I think some freshman receivers that are now balling.
They had to do something. I mean, I thought even Georgia, for Beck being talented, I thought they would have had more weapons on the outside. Mm-hmm. I thought they had a lot of big weapons. I didn't think they had a lot of guys that could flat out run. I would like to ask you, Lamar, what the hell happened to a 6-yard out or a 6-yard hitch? I mean, if it's 3rd and 5, why can a team not throw a 6-yard pass and the guy get tackled on his first down? They try to throw all this motion crap and then throw like a 1-yard pass behind the line of scrimmage, and a DB comes out and just breaks a wideout's legs. I'm like, why does nobody run a hitch anymore or a 6-yard out?
From being in college ball, man, it's the only guy that I could say really harped on that type of stuff, Petrino, because he said, hey, if they're going to give it to – my job as a coach was to watch the field. And he said, if they're off to the field, you let me know, and we're going to bang hitches all day long. That's all he wanted to know.
But it was also – but Lamar was under center too, right?
Yeah.
So you allow the quarterback to go under center. That's another thing, is you go under center, that allows those quick hitting passes because you're getting the gun. By the time you get a handle on the rock, I mean, the DB sees its hitch. He's breaking on the ball, and then he's getting their ball. That's one thing that kind of drives me absolutely bonkers, because I've been sitting up there screaming from the booth, at broadcast booth every week. I'm like, hell, if they're going to give you 6-yard, just frickin' take it, Lamar.
Take it.
Just frickin' take it. Key it.
You sound like Coach Harrison now. Freaking take it, Gino.
Freaking
take it. Freaking take it.
I wanted to ask you too about Xavier Restrepo, since we're kind of talking about wide receivers. First off, I want to say, like, him on 4th down. I don't know if you guys remember that kind of 4th down, the delayed route where Cam kind of found him between two.
Where he caught the ball on the ground?
No.
2 weeks ago? Crazy. I don't know how that dude caught that. I mean, how he had to balance like he's sitting on the ground, but go ahead.
So I was going to say the route versus Cal, I think it was like a 4th and 10, and Cam zipped it in and found it between 2 cornerbacks. And just your overall thoughts about, him and kind of, where he compares to the other wide receivers around the country. Because he's not, the biggest, fastest, strongest, whatever, but he just gets it done.
He is tough. I'd say if he's not the toughest guy on the team, he's pretty damn close to the toughest guy on the team. And he was the only guy I thought in that game where it didn't matter if the ball was near him and he knew he was going to get lit up, he was still making the catch. He's got a great feel for where the open zones are in areas, makes tough grabs. I remember I asked Roland Smith last week, because he was out there running some extra routes for Cam, and I'm like, where are the other guys? Like he's the guy. Like, I could see where the guy not doing some extra routes on one day, but he's the one putting in the extra routes. And Roland said, Gino, my son played against him in Pop Warner, and he was the smallest guy on the field, and he played tailback. And he said nobody on our team could tackle him. And Roland was coaching the Pop Warners at the time, and it was driving him nuts. And his son just said, Dad, this dude's different. He's strong. It's like he wasn't going down. And I would just say that he's just obviously just continue that. He's not playing tailback anymore, but he's great with the ball when he gets it. I think he's smart. At the end of runs, when you see where he's not going to take those unnecessary hits. He'll dodge and weave a little bit and be like, all right, I got 3 dudes. No. He just dives forward, picks up an extra 3 yards. Nobody touches him. But he will take the hit. I've been very impressed. I mean, listen, I think with that game, he's got the most 100-yard passing games in history. I think he was tied with Andre Johnson. Now he's number 1 in school history. I mean, I think that he set the record last year. He had like 85 catches So Lamar might have caught 85 balls from me in 4 years, but it ain't gonna say he didn't politic for more passes, but
hey man, listen, you gotta have that guy.
I had to spread the wealth.
You did. But when it was on the line, baby, you gotta have that guy that you gotta have a connection with, and that connection starts a lot with how much work you put in after practice.
And he's doing that. And that's why I would say I was impressed because he is doing that. This was, whatever, Monday or Tuesday last week, and went out there and watched, and he was the one running the routes. He was the one running extra route. And normally at the end of a practice, personally I'm like, okay, let me work on some drops. I wouldn't make the wideouts run the whole route. I would just say, hey, run the top of this route, and then just so you can get a feel for where the ball is coming from and things like that. No, that dude was running. He was running go routes. It didn't matter. He was whatever Cam wanted to or he was working on. He was running. But very impressed. He's tough. I hopefully he got a game ball, because if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have been coming home with a W from California. I will say that.
So we all, I think all four of us collectively feel pretty good about the offense and where it's at and how it's producing week after week after week. I think we also know that the key to the second half of the season and them accomplishing the goals they want to accomplish is going to be the defense. Like you said, there's a big assignment coming up a week from Saturday. Jeff Brom dials up offense as well as anybody in the country. And they're a team that's they're pissed off right now. They've lost 2 games in a row. They got one this Saturday. But how does the defense get better here in the next 10 days before they got to go to Louisville and deal with that?
Well, I think we saw flashes of it. I think when number 4 was on the field, nobody on Cal could block him. So if 4 is healthy and 10's in the middle, I have a very good feeling that I think you could rush 4 and get to any quarterback in the country. And I think that would change Guidry's. Guidry wouldn't need to pressure as much as I know he likes pressure, which is fine. But I think they'll be able to get to quarterbacks with just 4 guys rushing as Bang gets 100% healthy, because he was definitely felt on Saturday when he was out there. He wasn't out there a ton. He wasn't out there 100 snaps or the entire game, but he was out there enough to make his presence felt.
Hey, Gino, it seemed like he was there every play in that fourth quarter. I mean, every time you looked, he was putting pressure on or just doing something, man.
Yeah, so I think with that, I think with more plays, I think the linebackers are kind of calmed down. But Wesley, I thought played well. I mean, might have saved the game with almost knocking Mendoza out of the game, or kind of ringing his bell, because he didn't look the same the last drive.
Those last 3 throws, man, were terrible.
So, I think that our personnel is what it is, but I think that with Bang getting healthy, he's going to make 10 other guys on our defense a lot better.
What did you think about, it's funny because you're talking about dropping more guys into coverage here and stuff, against Virginia Tech, that last drive, we pretty much went prevent defense, and they ended up throwing the ball in the end zone, with a chance to win the game at the end. As a quarterback, how do you feel about that balance between pressure and coverage? Quarterbacks today, they seem to be shredding a lot, coverage.
Well, I would say this. I mean, I think you always rush 4. I mean, I don't rushing 3. I don't think really does it. You're at a huge disadvantage defensively. Then it's 5 guys blocking 3. At least with 4, you got a one-on-one there. So bringing 4. I think the thing with Virginia Tech, maybe it was underestimated how big Homie was, because that receiver I think was 6'6". It doesn't take a rocket scientist. I know this. If I'm throwing a Hail Mary, I'm going to the tallest guy, or the guy who can jump the highest. And that is what it is, and and that's what Virginia Tech did, and he just out jumped, and with his size went up higher than any of our guys. So I think that's what they did. But I would definitely rush 4. I think at that point, it's, you loosen up. It's hard. It's hard to say. I just, I thought there was a point even in the Cal game where we kind of came off, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I would be doing that. I would have kind of been closer to the line of scrimmage, but we made it work and came out with a win. But I would always rush 4. I don't like rushing 3. I mean, as a quarterback, it's great because you're gonna have extra time. But I would always rush 4 just because I want 4 guys to try to get at the QB.
Well, I tell you this, Gino, I definitely appreciate your time tonight, man. You've been
Lamar, the restaurant you're at, is it even open with the hurricane? They didn't even shut it down?
Yeah.
Or you
hey,
made
man,
them
this
open
place. Well, first of all, this place, man, this is the new home of the Hurricanes, and
is this
they
where
were
you
open
make
to
your?
tour.
Is this where you make your crazy videos where you're running around like like you just had your first child and stuff?
He likes the food.
Hey, man, I was excited. This place was open at 2:00 last night, man. All the people from the West Coast came over here. There's a lot of people staying at these hotels in Weston. They stayed open at 2:00, so they had a lot of business. So
better not be price gouging. President Biden and Kamala Harris
they got
gonna
specials.
come get on their ass. They got
specials over here, dog.
People.
We got specials over here, dog. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on, man. I know you got a busy schedule, and give Bernadette a big hug for me, and appreciate it, man. You my brother, man. I love you.
What time school drop off tomorrow, LT? You better get to bed.
They're off. They're off.
Oh,
they're off.
Daddy daycare got a day off.
Daddy daycare transportation service at your service, my friend. Love you, brother. Be safe, all right?
I'll see you
guys.
Thank
you, Gino.
Yeah.
All right, G.
We'll see you soon. A lot of knowledge there with that guy. No doubt
I try not to put him on the spot and let everybody know I was his go-to guy. So I said, let's go to high school. Let's not talk about college because we know where you was gonna look at. You were gonna look for LT 36, baby, all day long.
All day.
I mean, no offense to High C, K-Dub, and Spence, Coleman Bell. They were great players and they did their thing. But at the end of the day, I politicked enough to get the damn ball.
All right, we got a ton of topics and questions being thrown out by the fans tonight. So let's get to it. I'll start with this one because Christopher, he's coming after me on this one, Lamar. All right, so I talked before the season that, and really the last 2 seasons, that Miami's lacking a true number 1 dude at receiver. There's no Michael Irvin. There's no Andre Johnson. There's no guy that changes the game. Now, when we talked about Restrepo, I said, on the great Miami teams, a great college football team, he's probably the number 3 guy. And this is what I said, and I stand by it. Now he's having a season like this and a career like this, and he's rewriting the record books. But I still don't feel the same way about Xavier Restrepo. And I love the kid. He's the hardest worker, the greatest leader, works harder than anybody I've ever seen. Like I would about Michael Irvin, Andre Johnson, the kid at Alabama, Ryan Williams, who changes the game by himself. Whatever. Your thoughts just on that whole general topic of a number 1 dude, and how Restrepo sort of fits in the way he's performing. Which is kind of making up for the fact that we do not have that kind of guy on this team.
Well, they got guys to do other things, and I like to phrase it as, what? It kind of reminds me of myself. I might have been the 3rd best guy on our team. We got Horace Copeland. The guy could run, jump, he can do anything. Best athlete I've ever seen in my life. You got Kevin Williams. Holy shit, the guy was fast, powerful. You got Darryl Spencer who could break down any defense, and me. I'm 155, 160, but very good looking. You know what I mean? Making plays all over the place. That's all that matters. When you make plays, it doesn't matter what your rank is on your team. It's who your quarterback is going to throw to when the shit's on the line. You know what I mean? And yeah, he might not be the best, sexiest looking gal at the club, But God dang it, 3 o'clock in the morning, he gonna get it done. Or she gonna get it done. Whatever the hell she is, they're gonna get it done. You understand? And the guy is playing his balls off, man. The guy is, man, it's amazing to watch him. And not taking anything away from Horton, not taking anything away from number 3, not taking anything away from Brown. But the game is on the line. That's where the quarterback is looking, and he is making plays. So you might be right, homeboy. He might be on another team, the third best, but I guarantee his production will be the best. That's how it looks.
So now you got all that tape. I see. The Louisville staff's gonna be watching it, and Georgia Tech and Syracuse and these guys down the stretch of this season, they're all gonna be watching that tape now. And like Gino says, hell, I couldn't believe they weren't double covering number 7. Like, make somebody else beat you. How does that play out here, IC?
I think this is when you see Isaiah Horton really coming to his own, because in that game, he had a huge 4th down conversion as well, too, when Cam hit him on, quick slant route. So if you're double covering, Xavier Restrepo, that's one less receiver to cover a guy like Horton. I'm not completely – obviously, I love Jacoby George. I love Sam Brown. I'm not completely sure they've got to that point where they're kind of a, guaranteed go-to guy on that 3rd or 4th down. But I think Isaiah Horton's proved enough this year, that he's the guy that's been reliable. There hasn't been a point like, damn it, Isaiah Horton, you had this big – I think he had a drop versus the Florida game.
Except the post. He should have gone up and got it. He should have gone up. You're 6'4", 6'5", baby. You got to go and put your body up on him and go get that. Put the nuts on his helmet. Let's go up and catch that thing, baby. You got to go. He better be glad I ain't come to practice today, because I was going to give it to him on that one. He's a great kid, but you got to go up and get that. You don't know how many chances that you're going to have to make that play. You don't let the ball come down where a defender can make the play. You jump first. You react first. If you look at, I hate to go back to the old days, pull out that projector. When you look at me, I'm jumping. I'm going to jump first. And you're going to have to figure it out. And it's going to happen. Something good's going to happen because I'm going to react first. Now you're struggling. You're trying to figure out where I am. And you're going to either pass interference or I'm going to catch the ball. Something good's going to happen.
Horton makes that big catch on the final drive.
Yes.
And then kicks somebody. Yeah. It takes a 15-yard penalty. What's Coach LT thinking at that point?
As a coach, you have to be very careful sometimes, That's the one where I'm debating on whether take him out or not, First of all, I know the head coach, the coordinator's looking at me, the head coach is looking at me. They're going to see what your reaction is, and so sometimes you just got to let it play itself out. I mean, I had a guy that dropped a post pattern against he actually had a deep ball against Georgia and probably would have won us the game. And he dropped it and threw it back to the DB. The DB took it back the other way. So we came back the next game and we threw him a post and he dropped it again. Everybody was saying, get him out. Get him out. And I said, no, you go back in there. We're going to throw it one more time to you, dog. He ended up catching it. Sometimes you just got to roll the dice. I mean, unfortunately, he got the 15-yarder. And I know that was just the emotion. I mean, you look at the game, though. Cal was doing all kind of funky shit on the bottom of the pile now. Well, every time they got a guy down, they were doing some extra stuff. They were doing they were doing extra stuff, man. A little ranch on the side. They were doing all that stuff. But, he just got caught. And I truly believe that number 3, George, he has to watch himself because everybody knows now that he's going to lose his temper. He's going to react. And I promise you, those DB coaches are saying, just keep messing with his head, keep messing with him, and sooner or later he's going to screw it up. So he's going to have to be very careful of that. But, the fact that, number 2 got that penalty, we were able to recover. You say, hey, man, you can't do that. You got to be smarter than that. And he'll say, yeah, you're right. And we'll go on. We'll keep going. So,
these penalties are driving Mario crazy.
Oh, man, I know.
I mean, Mario can't stand the penalties like this. And it is taking every ounce of willpower in his mind and body to not go crazy when these are happening because the kids are staying in the game. Number 3, after an entire offseason, a focus on this is still getting the penalties almost every week. And the opponents are baiting them into them. Of course they are. Interesting.
And sometimes it's not his fault. I mean, but the fact is you got to pass. You know what I mean? And so now the coaches, I mean, let's say they throw a bad flag on him. I don't know. The coaches are going to, and everybody's going to go back to what he's done in the past. So he has to be smarter, man. He just has to be smarter. Gary, I got to tell you, I know we're back to being prominent when you got Bama fans, you got Longhorn fans, you got all these people want to come and watch our show now just to embrace. Hey, look at Longhorn, look at Bama. We embracing the hate, baby. You know what I mean? We embracing the hate because we know it's hate. You hate the fact that we're back, but guess what? It makes college football so much better when Miami's up there for you to hate and spend your damn time in our backyard. Get out of my yard, man. Get out of my yard. I'm gonna kick you off my lawn. I won't say shoot because people get a penalty for that. But you can't even act like you got a gun around that thing. Did you see the penalty? The guy pulled his shirt up like he was. I mean, he might have been just showing off his abs. That's what I used to do back in the day. They might have gave me a flag thinking I had a gun.
All right. Cry Sullivan. He said, part of Cam Ward coming here had to be, are y'all going to let me play my style of football? And Mario and Dawson, hell yeah, we're going to let you play your style of football. Right. And, Sergeant Major says he thinks Cam is coaching Dawson.
Nah, my guy Dawson, man, he's in control, man. I love that guy, man. He's doing an awesome job. I think we found, he has the right guys. I mean, around him, you got tight ends, you got receivers, you got running backs, you got O-line, and then most importantly, you got a quarterback. He's doing I mean, this is going to, I hate to say this, and I don't want to think too far down the line, but man, he's going to be very sought after. Either we're going to have to, if it continues this way, and we're able to make this playoffs and the ACC championship, let's just say the ACC championship, we're able to make this ACC championship, man, he's going to be very sought after. And I mean, what he's doing with this team, with this offense, he's looking really good right now.
When you produce the way he's producing, you get a lot of leeway and a lot of trust from the coaches. Jason, says, is Shannon Dawson going to get an extension after the season?
See?
I mean, he's doing a great job this year. Is he going to get a head coaching look based on the way Cam Ward is playing?
Well, it depends on what job's out there. I know he's not going to leave this job to be a head coach at Akron. I mean, I would hope not. You don't want to be a head coach that damn bad. Who knows? Right. But, he's done so far. I mean, everything looks great. And, yeah, he should be one of those guys that are at the on the list to be a head coach if it continues. I mean, he's shown he does have leadership. I love talking to him, man. I like to joke around. I told him when I first talked to him last year, when I interviewed, I started the conversation off by saying, hey, man, we got something in common. He goes, what's that? I go, we both were fired by Stoops. And it just broke the ice, man. It just broke. He's a great guy. And even when he left Kentucky, no one said bad stuff about him. And that's some good stuff, man. When nobody says, oh man, yeah, he was a slap or he couldn't coach, or nobody said anything negative about it. It just wasn't his style for Mark Stoops. You know what I'm saying? And he just didn't have the offense to what Mark Stoops wanted. Mark Stoops wanted to control the clock, running the ball, and that just wasn't his offense at the time. I think over the time he's involved, his offense has evolved, and now he does have a running attack.
Well, I think Shannon likes it here, and when Mario says run the ball, he's going to run the ball. But I don't know if Mario's saying it that much anymore the way this thing's going. But it's been something else. We talked about that earlier in the show. But Chris Brown says you take the top 10 teams and put them in that situation that Miami was in the other night. I see how many come back.
Oof, not many, because we saw last week about, I think, 5 of the top 11 teams in the country lost against an unranked opponent on the road. I don't think any of them were down 25 points. I think they're all within, striking distance. And 2 weeks in a row, you're coming back from a double-digit deficit in the second half, 25 points, like I said. That's something big. 21 unanswered points in the third quarter. It was crazy. I literally had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I was just like, please, that was my superstition. Because right when I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, all my outside noise just cleared out. And it was just me and football, and things started to work out. But I don't think a lot of teams are making that comeback from 25 points down against a top defense like Cal. A lot of people like to discredit Cal. The most points they allowed all year was 14 points or 10 points. We're coming in averaging 12 points. That's a good defense, and Miami did their thing for sure.
Now, half the fans I know went to sleep in the third quarter. But our
wait before you get to her, I had so many people saying I fell asleep and I woke up and the first thing I saw was your post where I was going nuts, and they were like, "What the hell? We won!" Like, so many people fell asleep in the third quarter or just turned it off. And the fact that we won, they were like shocked.
Well, the only female who dares come and watch this show every week is Jennifer Miller, and she says she never went to sleep. She stayed up to even watch the post-game shows. What do you say to the fans, Lamar, who went to bed in the third quarter?
It was a long day, man. I mean, I get it. I truly get it. I mean, I know some of my teammates that went to sleep. They were frustrated. They, so much high expectations, and they felt like after watching that last interception, they couldn't watch anymore. They didn't want to watch anymore. And to wake up and see that we had pulled it out, all of them were happy. And then for our fans, I get it. If this would have been at I call it Joe Robbie, but if it would have been at the Hard Rock, how many people would have left? Because we know South Florida fans, they're gonna get to their car. Hell, I even did it at the Virginia Tech game. Hell, when I saw them jumping around, I got out of there. I left. I was so pissed off. I was waiting for any Virginia Tech fan to say anything. I was gonna slap the turkey out of their behind. But when I got to the car, I heard the rah. I said, yes, we won. But that's how South Florida is. My wife says all the time, "You're such a South Florida fan."
Adrian Pressey says if the guys aren't housing the ball, like, and it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, let Cam run the show and throw it. They have not been able to house a lot of balls in the run game this year, guys. Does that change, I see, in the second half of the season?
I think so. I think I really do think if they didn't have to throw the ball as much as they did in that second half, we would have saw more of that I formation like we did that first half, because that was working. Mark Fletcher broke off a big run in that second drive or first drive. Damian Martinez, I think that's the best he's looked running the ball this year, that first drive. I know it wasn't for huge gains, but he just looked more confident, looked more, natural, looked just normal in that kind of, single back kind of look. And when they're on the goal line, even run, I formation, let Elijah Lofton come in and blow somebody up too in the run game, because he's done a great job doing that too. That'll be getting him more involved. So I hope I see more of that running game. And, I think it's going to evolve as the season continues.
Major points out that Jalen Rivers returning should help the run game. And, it should. But Chris Sullivan says, ask those same players what they would rather have, winning games and averaging 70, 90 yards a game rushing, or averaging 270, 300 a game and losing. Do the running back, do you agree, Lamar? A running back who's not getting the rock as much as he hopes?
I can only tell you as a receiver, dog. And I remember us playing Penn State, and they were dropping everybody. And Coach Erickson said, "What's open?" And I said, "Nothing. Keep running it." And he still, to this day, he remembers that, because he was shocked that I said it. But, I love to win, man. Sometimes you got to put all that shit aside. I understood that the more we win, the more chances that all of us had a chance to make it to the next level. More people were going to watch. If we lose a game, knowing South Florida fans, they don't like losers. They love winners. And so we've known from the last couple of years, you lose a game or two, they're moving on to basketball, or they're moving on to freaking hockey, or they're moving on to whatever else is going on at that time. They don't have time for losers. This is Winterville, and that's how they look at it. So for these guys, I think in their mind they have to, and this is by their staff, and I think so far their staff has done a great job, Mario and that whole staff, of keeping guys engaged and letting them understand and know that this is a long season. There will be a point. You just have to be ready when your number is called. You want to be ready, because when it happens, that's greatness. That's greatness. Be prepared.
So Spo One says nobody can score with Miami. He hasn't seen an offense that could keep up. Can this team keep winning scoring contests, Lamar? And let's start with this next game coming up against Louisville. I mean, we'll talk about it a lot next week, but those guys can run some offense now. Do you want to get into a scoring contest with Louisville?
No. The one good thing I love is that this is just my opinion. Just my opinion. I don't think Ron English is a good coordinator, to be honest with you. I've seen them put Purdue and Louisville in some bad situations. You know what I mean? So, I think he's going to give us a couple. That's just my opinion. I don't think he's a good coordinator. And matter of fact, I think I played against him. I think he went to Cal. The only catch I had in that one game out of Cal, I think it was a wheel route, and he pushed me out on the 2. So I'm mad at him for that. So I might be hating a little bit. But I think that their defense is not as good, but I know their offense, Gidger's going to have to dial it up. He's going to have to figure it out, and hopefully they make mistakes, because that's the only thing that kills Louisville. Brom and Petrino, that offense is mistakes. If they dial it up, they're gonna call beaters. Whatever you in, they already have a play to beat it, and if they get to it, you have no chance. So hopefully we're able to make them make some mistakes. I don't want to get in the shootout with them. Not saying that we're not capable of it, but I'd rather not get in the shootout with them. I want to control that clock, run that ball. I think we can run the ball on them, and we'll see this week. I'm gonna watch their game very closely. Who they play this weekend? They play somebody this weekend?
Virginia, yeah.
Virginia just beat Boston College too. So
okay, I need to call Terry Kirby so he can call the guys and tell them to play some good ball out there. So I'm gonna watch them this week, and hopefully we can run the ball against them.
All right, so Mad Rapper's coming at me. I'm talking too much about the damn run game. Miami strengths the passing game. It's important to understand the team Miami has rather than the team that you want them to have.
Yes.
He's putting us in our place at the same time. Yes. We think we understand they got to run the ball to get, to finish the end of the year the way they want to, especially when they start playing better teams. But do we know what the hell we're talking about, guys? I can tell you this, Mad Rapper. So I thought we had a great offense with Gino, my senior year, junior year, whatever. But that running game with Steve McGuire and all those backs, it helped. It helped the passing game because we needed it. Because sometimes they said, hell, we're just going to drop everybody back, and it's going to take all those passing lanes away. And you don't want to put your quarterback in a situation where he's throwing it into triple coverage. So you got to have some type of running game. In the running game, you run it enough, it will open up the pass, and those lanes will be there where you can find those little voids in the zone, because they're so focused on stepping up. I mean, we had so many big plays because those guys, with Steve McGuire being 8 yards deep and he's getting a full speed ahead on the play fake, they're trying to step up to buckle themselves up to get ready to tackle this big guy. And then we just hit him right over Kevin Williams, right over in the back, right over the head. Boop. You know what I mean? So we're going to need the run game, Mad Rapper. I know you don't want to see it, but you need to see it because it makes a complete offense. Hey, without the run game the other night, maybe Cal's not as worn down as they were in the second half. All right, I'm going to let you take this one, man. Chris Johnson, we see how good he is. We see what kind of speed he has. He's not impacting the game as the fourth or fifth running back. And, next year you're looking at Fletcher being back. It looks to me like Martinez is going to have to be back. Jordan Lyle is going to be back. This dynamic does not figure to be significantly different next year, other than the fact you're not going to have Cam Ward, you're not going to have Restrepo, and maybe the offense probably will evolve differently. and allow for more use of these guys. But should Chris Johnson become a slot receiver?
Me personally, I don't think so, because I'm trying to. He's saying he's a real threat like X. I don't think anybody on that roster is going to be a real threat like X anytime soon. Obviously, I think you can use Chris Johnson in a lot of different ways, but I don't think you should fully move him to that slot receiver role. I think he's the type of guy where he's a running back. At the end of the day, you can have him as a gadget guy, but I don't think if you move him to that receiver, he's going to be able to make an impact like X. I think X's impact, when he's gone, that's when it's really going to be like, damn, you really miss a guy like X right now. Love Chris Johnson, but I don't think personally moving him to a slot is going to be the best for his career.
And I believe that guys like JoJo Trader and those guys, those young guys, they're watching and they're going to learn from X, and they'll be able to make some plays next year. You know what I mean? So as you sit and watch, because I've been there, you sit and watch, and you watch guys in practice, and you sit in those meetings and you hear the reason why they did certain things. You learn. And so seeing that and being around it, it's only going to help our slot guys next year. I truly believe. Now, they might not have the numbers, but they're going to make plays because they got that toolkit that sometimes a coach, the receiver coach, can't teach. It's you watching a guy do it himself, and you learn. You sit and you watch and you learn.
Mad Rapper's coming at me. He doesn't like my improvisational offense phrase. Look, LT, I don't know what else to call it. Like, it seems to me like at least half the plays aren't being run in traditional fashion. I mean, there is no offensive football play that draws up a quarterback holding the ball as long as Cam is holding the ball, just drifting around side to side, like he doesn't have a worry in the world. Listen, I've been watching football my whole life. We've seen, we watch Mahomes, we watch Lamar Jackson on Sundays, we watch their whole careers, and they improvise a lot. Yeah. But I can't remember ever seeing an offense run like this. Maybe I'm crazy, and I certainly don't want to offend you, Mad Rapper. We appreciate you watching every week. I don't know what else to call it but improvisational offense.
Hey, Mad Rapper, if you want to see an offense run like this, LT36 from the U. Come catch me on College Football 25. I drop Cam back, and I'm just watching. I'm waiting. I'm seeing you spine. I'm doing all that. I'm running them backwards. I'm bringing them. Hey, man, it's real, brother. It is real. And, hey, this is what they're doing, man. I mean, I kind of agree with Gary, man. It's hey, he's getting back there where he can see things. He understands that, and the line has been blocking well enough to give him that time. Give them a lot of credit too, man. That was one of the big keys in this year, whether they could protect him. And I think so far, so well, they've done a good enough job to keep his jersey clean. And obviously, he's very elusive and very smart. He does take some sacks, or he has taken some sacks, but he's also made some big plays, bringing the defense close to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to describe it to you guys the best that I can. I can't come up with a better phrase than improvisational offense. All right, one of our infiltrators, Bama Bob, he says that the Saints tackle on Mendoza at the end of the game was clear targeting and not enough evidence to overturn. I didn't see it as clear targeting.
Hey, man, hey, Bama Bob, you should have been watching Vanderbilt, man. You should have been watching that goddamn game. Don't get off our channel, bro. It's too late. Your ass should have been asleep, getting ready to call Feinberg or whatever the hell his name is. So it is what it is, man. It was a close call. It could have gone either way. You know what I mean? And to all those people that are trying to push the hate narrative, embrace the hate here. Oh, the ACC all of a sudden decide they're going to push Miami to the top. Come on, man. They don't give a damn. They don't care about that, bro. They're not saying we need to. I don't think they're saying that. I really don't believe that. It's just that, for once, we've gotten some calls that we haven't gotten in years. And maybe it's because, it's a different team. Do we win those games 2 years ago or last year? Hell no. We do not win those games. But this year, we got a different bunch of guys who truly believe, and it could go down to the wire, and they believe. And we win it. So, Bama Bob, get the hell out of here, buddy.
Does being a better team this year Does that impact the calls you get from the officials?
I don't know, man. That's just, we get the calls, man. I feel a lot refreshed because again, we don't get these calls the last couple of years, man. How many times we walked out of the stadium and said, damn, can we get a call? Can we get a call? Can we get a break? And we hadn't gotten the breaks. The Georgia Tech game, that call could have gone either way. You know what I mean? That call could have gone either way, but it didn't go our way.
No.
And
great analogy.
Yeah.
Great analogy.
So,
I mean, that probably wasn't a fumble. They called it a fumble.
Yep. But no, you don't hear them complaining about that.
Yeah. But I personally, and I know I'm probably biased, but like I thought they got them both right. I didn't think that there was clear possession in the Virginia Tech game. And the Saints, I thought, hit the guy first with his shoulder. And I know he had his head too far down. And I know he'll work on that in practice this week. But he nailed that kid. He hit him first with his shoulder, and then he pushed with his hands. And it would have been criminal if they took that play away from him. I thought so. All right. So Silos is putting his list together, and this is just the start. Okay, Horton needs more targets. How about Lofton, the freshman tight end? I mean, that guy is a total freak. If we had a different talent base than we have, you would put that kid at fullback. Howard Schnellenberger, that kid's Alonzo Highsmith.
Yep.
That Lofton kid is Alonzo Highsmith. Howard Schnellenberger puts that kid at fullback, and he gets, what did Highsmith go? Number 3 in the draft?
Yeah.
When he came out in the NFL?
So.
Howard Schnellenberger puts this kid at fullback. I mean, there's a whole list of guys that you can make arguments that they should play more. But at the same time, and Izubee, we'll start with you on this one. These guys got to stay together and can't get caught up in this.
Yeah, no, I feel like everybody's days do. I mean, obviously, you see guys like Xavier Restrepo waited his turn, a fifth-year guy. Zay Horton waited his turn. Now he's kind of reaping the benefits. I think that's kind of a message that you have to spread throughout the whole roster. And obviously, some guys are going to be eager to touch the field and things like that. But you see Miami's giving, the young bucks some opportunities. We got OJ on the offensive side or the defensive side of the ball. We got Elijah Lofton. We got JoJo coming in. We got Jordan Lau. So, that's something that you can preach to these guys. Hey, you might not be touching the field. I know you might be itching to hit the field, but just, wait your turn and you'll reap the benefits when it does come. So I do want to see Elijah Lofton out there, but, at the end of the day, you go back to the argument, whose touches are you going to take away to give to Elijah Lofton? You're going to take away Elijah Royers. You're going to take away Damian Martinez. Whose touches are you going to take away from that guy? So I'm excited to see what he does for the future, but right now I'm focused on the big guys that are contributing.
And you just
that's number 9. You talking about number 9?
Yep.
Woo! See, I don't even know his name yet. Number 9, boy, he big body, baby. He big body. He's freaking. Not did it freaking, but he freaking. You know what I mean?
So how does Coach Lamar Thomas keep the heads right?
How do I keep it right?
How do you keep the heads right? A lot of these kids aren't doing what they hope to be doing.
I'm just making sure that they understand it's a long season. We're trying to push towards this championship. And if you want to get your due, okay, you keep balling in practice. And when you get your shot, you better make it happen. Because I don't want to hear no complaining and bitching. All right? So stand your behind by me. And when I push you and send you in there, you better make it happen. You better make it happen. Because if you come back bitching and complaining, nah, it's too long of a season, bro. So hopefully, and I see those coaches talking to all those guys. I've said it before. I see them talking to guys, putting their arms around guys, and that's important. That's very important to put your arm around some of these kids. You know what I mean? In today's climate, they need to know that they're loved. They need to know that hey, you're needed. And I think our staff is doing a great job of that. Kudos to them.
All right, I see. Before we let you go here, any parting thoughts coming out of the Cal game as Miami's in the midst of this open week?
Yeah, all I know is Miami's going to be unbeaten after this week, but I feel like this is a good week to get guys resting up. Hopefully, we see Jalen Rivers come back. I'm so happy Markel Bell has got this chance to play, get some good playing time. But my brother, you got to go. Put Jalen Rivers back there. Use this for motivation next season. get Bain back because, like you said, he's been making plays the whole entire game. First play, he gets tied for a loss. Last play, he gets, he's doing his thing. So just get healthy, get ready for Louisville, watch their game, kind of pull a Cal. What Cal did, you come out with some new wrinkles in the offense, punch him in the mouth early, another tough road test, and please do not put everybody through what they've been put through the last 2 weeks. Let's get through Louisville, and let's get to October 26th with Florida State.
All right, I see. Well, thanks for being part of the show once again, and we will.
Make sure you go call your people, IC. Go call your people, man.
Yeah, make sure everyone at home's okay.
See you guys next Tuesday with some good updates.
All right, I see.
Right.
All right, LT. I go from IC to LT. Let's do some word association, and before we let everybody actually really go to bed this time in the middle of the third quarter, let's start with Mark Fletcher.
Man, he looks good, man. Doesn't he look great? I mean, he looks. I'm not saying that he was fat looking, but he kind of looks like the Derrick Henry type body now. It's lean, tall. I mean, and we know he has that power. He just looks entirely different than he looked last year, and so you could tell he, obviously he had the injury, but you could tell he put some work in, and I think it's paying off. It's really paying
off. How the hell do you get better when you've been on the injury list for 8 months?
I have no idea. He must be working his ass off. I don't know, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sight.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he's come back this year considerably. I mean, he did some good things last year, but he's clearly a better running back because he can get the tougher yards inside. It's not just when he's busting it that he's making his mark.
I thought of him last time was like a power guy, but I just think he can make cuts. He can make, and he'll run away from you if he has to.
Yeah,
looks good. Looks good.
Very impressive, and hopefully Martinez gets going now the second half of the season. Xavier Restrepo.
I mean, we talked about it in the whole show, man. I mean, kudos to him. Congratulations. You're only one of 5 receivers in Miami history to go over 2,000 yards. He deserves it, man. I hope he continues to climb that chart. I told him a long time ago. I said when I got to school, I had the top 10 list on the back of my door, and I would look at it every day. And I knew I couldn't touch it or cross out any names until later on in my career. But once I started crossing those names out, it became addictive. I worked harder because I said, I only need 8 more. I need 10 more. It became very addictive, and it made me work harder. So I know he's a hard worker, man. He wants to be the best that he can be. And, I'm very thankful that I can watch him do his thing, man. This is it's been great to watch.
Yeah, and I hope he finishes off the season strong, obviously, and then finds himself the best speed coach in America, because when he gets those workouts and the combines, he's got to put up something in the 4.5s to get drafted anywhere reasonable in the draft. And he's probably right on the ragged edge at this point. I'm probably more I don't know.
Okay. When he gets to camp, he'll show his worth. I promise you that. Whatever team decides, hey, we want to draft this guy. He's a hard enough worker that he will get to camp and he will do damage. And Danny Amendola.
You played in the league. I mean,
they're guys.
Can a guy that doesn't run an elite speed, can he consistently get open in the NFL?
Oh yeah. Wayne Corbett, Danny Amendola. I mean, a lot of those the receiver coach from the Dolphins now. I mean, all these little guys. I mean, they're crafty enough to get open, and that's what it's about. And I'm telling you, they become very valuable because of the third. What they can keep moving the chains. That's a value to have.
Right. All right, let's go with Shannon Dawson.
Man, great job so far. I mean, again, we talked about earlier that he might have an opportunity at the end of the year to either get paid more money or go on. He's doing all the right things so far. I mean, obviously, he might even have his own game plan. Maybe he's been waiting to run the ball in the latter part of the season. We don't know. We're all in the waiting to see as fans, and so far so good. I can't wait to see what's next.
ACC.
man, coming into this season, it was all about the SEC. Everybody talked where they had 10 teams in the top 10. I mean, but I think the ACC is now showing with all these teams emerging. You got Pitt, you got Duke, you got Miami, you got Clemson, you got well, I was about to say Florida State, but not. You got some teams, man. They're playing good ball, and Louisville. I mean, Georgia Tech. I mean, all these teams are playing good ball, man. Did I miss anybody? I know I missed Syracuse. Is going to be a tough game at the end of the season. It's a lot tougher schedule than what people give us credit for. I mean, this is everybody's playing some good ball, man. This is not the ACC of the old that was the basketball teams, man. This is becoming a football conference. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we know Miami is a good team, and they've been life and death the last 2 weeks to get out of there with a win. And it's not that dissimilar from what we've seen the past few years, LT, when Miami gets into ACC action. A lot of very close games, win some, lose some. We know Miami's a better team this year.
Yeah.
But we're still seeing the same thing, and people ask me all the time, like, what's the difference? It's the same thing we've been watching for years. I said, no, it's not. And the reason is there's hope. There's hope that in the last 6 games of the season that it can be better than what it's been in the past. And that's what's different, which leads me to our next word association, which is the guy that is creating that hope, and that's Cam Ward.
I mean, what do you say? We saw the Cam back. I mean, the guy, man.
Love that.
And it's been incredible to watch, man. It's been incredible to watch because that team so far, it's when they always say don't flinch. I mean, it's just been where he is one of those guys. He's not showing too much emotion, and I think for a lot of those guys, they're following it. And he's been the ultimate leader so far. That's halfway point of the season. I won't even say halfway because I have higher expectations. But so far this year, he's made up for any mistakes he's had. I don't see him over there putting his head down. I don't see him being positive, and it's been fun to watch. It's been very fun to watch, and I never forget walking out of that stadium in Canesville up at Ben Griffin Stadium at Mario Cristobal Field, where the guy said, "I can't believe that's our quarterback. Oh my God!" Yeah, that's where I feel, man. That's where I feel.
And let's finish off the night with Mario Cristobal.
Hey, Mario is gonna work them like, oh man, he's gonna give it to him next week. But that's okay. You need it. And Gary, remember we brought up the point, and I saw one of the comments on here. We looked like we were in better shape last week, right? I think we wore them down.
We did.
And you remember we talked about you thought that Virginia Tech we looked sluggish at the end. We looked tired. So
you know what the funny thing about that is? Cal pulled the air conditioner is broken in the visitors' locker room trick this week. They showed up at the stadium and there was no AC working in the locker room. It was a steam bath. It stunk. And all the guys, like all the support staff, were running around outside, pulling portable air conditioners from behind the Cal bench down the steps into the locker room. The air conditioned the locker room. They took them from behind the Cal bench. It was awesome to watch.
Well, I can tell you this: the Miami of the old, hopefully, it's crossing paths with the Miami of the new, because we would have kicked your behind. We would have took that as a total disrespect. And you needed your behind kicked if you didn't give us no air in that locker room. And because you got it hot, we're gonna make you pay. When we leave here, you're gonna be safe.
That's right. All right, LT. Well, another great show. We thank Gino Torretta for joining us tonight. IC, obviously, for being part of the show. And we got to thank Caneswear, which, like we've told you guys repeatedly, is the ultimate stop right now for all your Canes merchandise. Go visit their store at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or at caneswear.com. Load yourself up on some Canes gear. Get yourself a Cam Ward jersey. It's a special season. You're going to want to commemorate it. And we thank Caneswear so much for sponsoring the Lamar Thomas Show again this year. We will have a show next week. We will be back, and we'll We'll talk a lot about the Louisville game, which I know is one that I've had circled since well before the season. This is the one coming up.
I might have to go to this one, Gary. You know, I'm like royalty up there, man. I got to go L's down, baby. L's down, baby. L's down. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, this is the one I think coming up that is going to shape where this season goes, and I'm really looking forward to it. So we will talk a lot about that next week, next Wednesday night at 8 on a new edition of the Lamar Thomas Show. For LT, I'm Gary. Thanks for joining us. We will see you then.
Thank you, L.